Maverick has gone forward with Stewart to the right, Lineker and Howes to the left. Is Gascoigne going to have a crack? He is, you know. Oh, I say! Brilliant! That is schoolboy's own stuff. Oh, I bet even he can't believe it. Is there anything left from this man to surprise us? That was one of the finest free kicks that this stadium has ever seen.
Hello and welcome to episode 64 of Hitting the Bar, the football podcast. I'm Chris Karle.
And I'm Geoff Saunders.
What a week, Geoff. What a week it's been. We're going to come to the big game, as far as I'm concerned, Tottenham against Arsenal, the North London derby. Before all of that, your trivia question.
The question this week is quite relevant if you look at what happened at Millwall. So the question is, who was the first black player to play in the First Division and for England at any level? So he must have played in the First Division and played for England at any level. So we're looking for one name of one player. Who was it?
Brilliant and very relevant question. Fantastic. All right, let's start with some of the games that preceded the North London derby. What's been happening this week? Burnley got a point, drew with Everton 1-1.
I think it was a reasonably predictable result, I think. On paper, it kind of looked like that. I'm not surprised. Dyche is a very, very good manager, and Burnley will be out of that bottom three very, very soon. If I was any of the three teams above Burnley, I'd start to be worried now. He's a good manager. He's got them playing better. He just needs someone to score more goals.
Well, one of those three teams just above Burnley is Arsenal, but we'll leave that for a bit later. And so Burnley got a point, a team that are sort of struggling alongside Burnley, but are probably more likely to go down. Man City 2, Fulham 0. Routine. But you and I think, predicted 4-0.
Yeah, the City didn't convert all their chances, did they? And there was a suspicion that if Fulham could get their act together, they could get back into the match. It was kind of routine. I think it's one of those results where the coach is actually quite pleased. He's got the 3 points in the bank, and now he's got something to work on with his players. Okay, you think you're good. This is what you did wrong during the week. This is what we're working on for next week. I still think City will come second in the league. They look good, and they're starting to look strong. The key difference... Well, there were two key differences that City have now compared to before. John Stones is playing well, which is a shock to a lot of people. And Aymeric Laporte isn't. He doesn't appear to be the shoe-in first choice that he was before. And the second thing, of course, is they look a much better team when Aguero plays. Yeah,
big difference there. I think City are going to come good. Again, we'll come to Tottenham later and who's going to finish in the top four. Sometimes commentators say they didn't even get out of second gear. Maybe they didn't have to and they took the game easy because they knew they were going to win it. Is that a tactic that Guardiola would have said to them, don't overstrain yourselves?
No, I don't think you can set out to do that, but sometimes that's the way the matches go. City kept Fulham in front of them, they were comfortable. The problem always comes if someone takes has a dip from 35 yards and it goes in, and then you have to reset again. City looked comfortable. The game was being played in front of their back four. They were okay. They didn't need to do any more, which you can argue is quite fortunate because they didn't. I did get the feeling that if they'd had to up the pace, they would have done.
And Fulham doomed. Right, then we come to your team, West Ham United against Manchester United. We think Solskjaer is one of those managers, along with Arteta, who probably have been given far too much leeway by the press. West Ham went in, took an early lead.
Yeah, right up until half-time, West Ham looked very good, actually, and I think had they got another goal or maybe two, which it would not have been a surprise if West Ham had gone in 3-0 up, with the chances that they had and the amount of possession that they had. A terrible miss from Haller, the miscontrol when he had the open goal. I think we hit the bar. There were other shots. I predicted 3-1 to Man United last week on this podcast. I couldn't see any other result. Their defence is weak enough that West Ham are going to score. Are West Ham good enough up front to get more than one against Manchester United? Not sure. But could Manchester United going forward get 3 goals? Yeah. And that's really how it turned out. The detail of the individual goals, I think, is irrelevant. It was the £1 billion squad against the £250 million squad. What else do you expect?
Yeah, because there is some controversy about the ball going out of play for a throw-in and it wasn't given, which led to Pogba's goal. and we're going to talk about Pogba, because his agent, Mino Raiola, has declared this week, or yesterday in fact, that Paul Pogba's career at Man United is over. He told Tutto Sport, I can say that it's over for Paul Pogba and Manchester United, and obviously looking for another club. They've got a Champions League game this week, and his agent, a day or two before that game, has come out and said that he is going to leave. He's not happy. We know what agents are like. They're slimy and they use all sorts of tactics. Solskjaer said a couple of months ago he's going to be here for the next 2 years, and I'm sure he's focused on doing his best for us. Two slightly different opinions there.
Yeah, but look at the reality. What would you expect those two people to say? You'd be very surprised if Solskjaer had said, "Oh well, we don't know what's going to happen," and Raiola had said, "Oh, he's quite happy." Raiola makes his 15% on every move that Pogba makes. He's going to encourage him to move every few years. Of course he is. So why is anybody surprised? There's a load of nonsense in the newspapers from the Man United sycophants saying, "Oh, what a terrible thing to do before this critical Champions League match. It will upset all the players." That's crap. Players know Pogba very well. The players know the situation. It's a situation that has existed at Manchester United for more than a season now. I don't think anyone there is very surprised about it.
Yeah, we have to remember, and I think people sometimes don't, that these players, when we're watching them, for us it's entertainment. It's their job, it's their office. And people, when they go into the office, gather around a water cooler and one will say to another, "Do you know what? Keep it to yourself. I've actually sent my CV to a rival company." And people gossip amongst themselves, and so those players will know. Some of them are friends of Paul Pogba's. They're all mates, they go to each other's houses for barbecues or whatever. Of course they'll know how he's feeling and what he's going to do. They might not tell the manager what they've heard.
Yeah, that's right. And every single professional footballer knows very, very well that as soon as the club decide they don't want him, he's going to be off. So why is anyone surprised when a player takes the same approach? And Pogba has clearly been unhappy at Manchester United for a very long time. He's come out of it very, very badly, because if he's as good as the sycophants in the press say he is, he would have turned it round. You cannot imagine for 1 second Brian Robson or Keane being as helpless and useless on the pitch as Pogba has been for the last 2 seasons. They would have grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck and dragged Manchester United to wins. And Pogba just sits back, "Oh, well, I don't like it, oh dear," and then invents injuries which keep him off the pitch for 2 months. And when he does come, we get one flash like against West Ham, and all his sycophants say, "Oh, look, a world-class player, oh, how fantastic." He's not. He has not ever been a world-class player. He looked very good playing for Juventus when Pirlo was playing quarterback and directing everything. And, Pogba is the typical guy who'll score goals 3 and 4 in a 5-0, but he'll never get you the winner or the goal that changes the match. That's just not him, and never has been. He's not a great passer of the ball. He's a good inside forward on the edge of the penalty area, and that's what he is, and the inside left position. And if he has a good passer, a really good passer like Pirlo was behind him, yeah, he can look very effective, but he's never done it for Manchester United.
Yeah, I think teams that win the league, and Manchester United did that quite a lot, have that player or those players that say, "We're not having this. We're playing badly, but we're still going to win. We're still going to get points." And as you said, grab the game by the scruff of the neck and drag their team kicking and screaming to a result. That was Keane and that was Scholes and those players. You don't see that at Manchester United at all. You see that very rarely in any team at the moment.
Well, actually at Manchester United you do with McTominay, but I think it's one of the strikes against Solskjaer that he doesn't build that team around McTominay. He's not the most skillful player, but he's the one who cares most about winning, and he will give everything for the team. And he should be the first name on the team sheet, to be quite honest with you. He's the one who could do that, but he has to have the manager telling the other players and showing the other players, this is the man. Make him captain, for God's sake, instead of Maguire, who's sort of I don't know, it's just completely ineffectual as a captain. McTominay, he's the guy with the heart. He's the guy who makes things happen at Manchester United. If they invest in him, and it's not in terms of money, but in terms of standing with his peers, this is our man here. He's the captain. You lot, you put as much effort in as he does, or you get out.
Yeah, but Man United up to 5th. We still don't think Solskjaer is up for the job. They've got something like 9 victories in a row away from home, which goes right back to June the 19th when they drew with Spurs. However, still we're not convinced by Solskjaer.
No, because the reason why they've won many more away from home than at home is that they are essentially a defensive team that doesn't actually defend very well, and a counter-attacking team. A counter-attacking team will do better away from home than at home, for the simple reason that the team at home will be expected to attack more and usually do attack more. That's what's behind that. Manchester United are still terrible at unpicking a defence that wants to sit back and say, OK, what can you do? The answer is nothing. Their defence is always likely to concede a goal. I mean, it's not a good defence. Fortunately, they played Henderson in goal and things are looking better. But as soon as they put De Gea back in, well, it's all going to go south again, isn't it?
Yes, perhaps we should mention Henderson now, because Sheffield United, we think, are now in desperate dire trouble. Let's move on to that game because we mentioned Henderson, just for the sake of continuity. But Sheffield United lost at home to Leicester, a little bit desperate. 1.5 minutes into the 3 minutes added on at the end of the game. Up pops Jamie Vardy and scores for Leicester. But you play to the whistle, you play to the end, and Sheffield now have 1 point in 11 games. Is the difference that Henderson is no longer there?
It is certainly part of it, but not huge, actually. The thing that Sheffield United have missed most is that their left centre-back has been out for most of the season, and that back three that they had were a very, very good unit, and without him they are struggling defensively. They did struggle to score enough goals last season. You can cover up a problem in defence if you score more goals. You can cover up a problem in attack if you're defending very well. But when both things are going wrong at the same time, it's a bit tough. And no team has come back from 1 point in 11 matches to stay in the top flight, and Sheffield United sadly won't.
So only 2 places left for relegation. One of the other games the day before that was Chelsea 3, Leeds 1. I wasn't surprised by that. Chelsea are firmly a top 4 team at the moment.
I was surprised because I thought if there was going to be a problem at Chelsea, it would be in that match. But they were very, very good, Chelsea. They coped very, very well with whatever Leeds threw at them. They looked very comfortable. They looked very, very high quality team. It was a very, very impressive performance. There's only one thing now left for them to work on, I think, which is how to integrate Havertz into the inside left channel and generate the number of goals that they started the season off with. And once that happens, they're real contenders, I think.
Yeah, definitely. They've definitely got the squad for it. I think they've got one of the better squads in that top 4, definitely. I mean, if you look at Tottenham, doing really well, we'll come to that, but I think Chelsea definitely edged that. West Brom lost at home. They're the other team that were almost down before Christmas. West Brom won. Crystal Palace, famous for not scoring many goals, 5.
Palace were lucky and West Brom were very unlucky, going down to 10 men up so soon into the game. I mean, it completely changed the game. I think it's a meaningless result. You can't read anything from it other than you had 11 players playing against 10, to be honest. Zaha had one of his good games, but against a side that had lost their holding midfield player, the defence was reshuffled after he went off, and a ball player like Zaha is always going to do well in a situation like that. That's never been the question about Zaha. The question about Zaha has been how good is he against really good opposition that defend very well and don't allow him any space. What's he got then? And maybe the answer to that question is why he's still playing for Crystal Palace and not one of the top 4 sides.
Yeah, last week Roy Hodgson came out and said that he's only got one player, Zaha, and the statistics kind of point that way. He was saying that Zaha is the only decent player he's got, and it's all terrible without him. This week, having beaten West Brom 5-1, he said, I have sleepless nights because I've got such a strong squad. I don't even know who to pick first. So which is it, Roy?
You have to take what managers say after the match with a pinch of salt, don't you? And in fact, before the match. So basically, take everything a manager says with a pinch of salt. There is something which I've noticed going back many years, and really because I used to play in that position. There always used to be teams that had really, really good attacking, wide attacking players. Alan Hinton at Derby County, Ian Storey-Moore at Nottingham Forest, Steve Kindon at Burnley. These were great attacking players, but when they were taken out of that and put into a top team, suddenly they didn't play as well. And I think Zaha is like that. He's, being the big fish in the small pond is his place, because they're always trying to punch above their weight, and the big team don't set out to stop that one player. The big team does what the big team does and says to the small team, what have you got? and then sometimes this winger will come up with something and look great. Ian Storey-Moore, fantastic for Nottingham Forest, went to Manchester United, a complete bust. But he wasn't any lesser a player at Manchester United. It's just everything around him was different. And Zaha is like that, and that I think is why he didn't go to Arsenal a couple of years ago. The Arsenal were thinking, well, I don't really know. That was right. Instead of which, of course, they blew 72 million on Pepe. Yes, I know. When you say 72 million on Pepe, people do laugh and actually prove their decision about Zaha to be correct.
Yeah, he went to Man United and came back again, didn't he, Zaha? What you said there about punching above your weight and being the best in a less strong squad reminds me of maybe very few people will remember, but there used to be a player in the late 70s, early 80s called Peter Ward, who played for Brighton and Hove Albion and was sensational. He was like a Salah or a Maradona. He used to get the ball, not a very tall guy, and he used to weave around. Somehow the ball stuck to his feet, weave around defenders, and just couldn't stop scoring for Brighton. And he was absolutely brilliant. I think he only got a couple of England call-ups, if that. And he got signed by, I think, Nottingham Forest, who were the big team at the time, and couldn't fit in, and then went back to Brighton. And I think Zaha is very much in that mould. Peter Ward was a great footballer, but possibly that was his level.
No, I think that's absolutely right. And there are countless examples over the decades of players that look great playing for the lesser team and not so good at playing for the team that everything is set up to stop them. Zaha, well advised to stay at Crystal Palace, I would suggest.
Yeah, always going to look good. Liverpool were one of a couple of teams that had fans at the stadium. Tottenham were another one. Let's look at Liverpool 4, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0. There was one moment in the match when VAR actually did its job. Cody was brought down by Sadio Mane in the box, attacking there for Wolves. Penalty was awarded to Wolves. A whisper in the referee's ear, go and have a look on your monitor, we're not sure. He had a look on the monitor and actually took less than a minute. He looked at it and went, no contact, no penalty, play on. But Cody, then, did he dive?
Well, if the referee believes he dived, then he should have booked him. Otherwise, he believes he fell over. That always looks a bit weak. I'd suggest it was a dive, but there we go. We're not Cody and we don't know. I think the important thing to look at is not the detail of that particular match, but the fact that Liverpool are doing extremely well. They've conceded just 4 goals in 6 league games. Add in the Champions League and it's 6 clean sheets in 11. They've only lost 1 league game this season, albeit that was the spectacular one against Villa. The last 2 home games, I think, are the critical markers against Leicester and then Wolves. They've both followed a very encouraging pattern for champions who want to stay champions. On the face of it, they were very difficult games for Liverpool. Teams that defend well and break on the counter extremely well. So they should have been really tough games for Liverpool, but they came through them winning by a combined total of 7-0. I think Liverpool are looking a very, very good bet for the title.
4-0 and looking very, very good. Fans back in the stadium. Klopp said he had goosebumps listening to them. Big moments. I think it probably made a difference to a few teams. Yesterday, Brighton and Hove Albion won, Southampton 2. Southampton enjoying possibly their best season in the Premier League, and they are one of only 11 teams in the Premier League history to reach 1,000 points with that win. Yeah, Southampton, you're looking surprised. I was surprised when I read that yesterday. Of course, you immediately know the big first 6 or 7, but Southampton right up there, having one of their best seasons ever.
Yeah, on the back of a very, very good coach who knows what he's doing, picks the players that do what he believes they should be doing, and the players clearly enjoy playing for him and love him. So more power to them. I hope they get a top 6 finish. I think it's a stretch. It's a stretch, but it's possible.
Yeah, I think it's a stretch. I think their squad will be stretched, and that'll be the problem compared to the big boys. But well done to Southampton. A shame for Brighton, who are going to stay up, I think. I think there are so many teams worse than them, or at least 3. There's at least 3, which is all you need. But Brighton do need to start pulling it around a little bit. Right, let's get to the big one. My team, Tottenham Hotspur, in the North London derby. 100-year history of that game. Tottenham 2, Arsenal 0. And I think Arsenal probably lucky to get 0 in many ways. Son scoring what I think is possibly, and I think one of the commentators said it, the best goal at that stadium in its young history has ever seen. It was a sensational goal. The Arsenal players maintained a bit of social distance from him. Hector Bellerin, as he did all game, standing off players. He let Son probably weave past a couple of them, but he bent them an absolutely beautiful goal in for the first goal, and then assisted Kane for the second.
Yeah, quite what Bellerin and the Arsenal defence thought they were doing, I don't know. Well, Bellerin Holding particularly was atrocious. I mean, he's a very bad player anyway. No, there's no way that Holding should be playing in the Premier League. But there was only one thing on for Son when he received that ball. There was only one thing he was ever going to do, which was cut inside, and he was either going to cut inside and lay the ball off, or he was going to cut inside and take the shot. Either way, the only thing he was going to do was cut inside. So why did they give him the space to do it? I mean, surely Bellerin is experienced enough and Holding are experienced enough to know that. So shut him off, show him wide, say, okay, what can you do with your left foot? It's just atrocious defending. But for the whole match, I sat there watching it thinking, this is like one of those pre-season friendlies, like the first match they do where they play, I don't know, Forest Green or Ilford Town or something. You know, the first match the players have coming back off the beach. It looked like that. The Wanderers were not just a bad Premier League team. They were worse than a first or second division team. It was absolutely shocking. It really was shocking. The unavoidable truth about the Wanderers is they're currently 15th in the Premier League after 11 games. They've lost more than they've won. They have no invention. They've got desperately low goals tally. I think only 3 teams have got fewer goals than them. I just sit there thinking, what are you trying to do? Do you think getting wide and lumping 44 balls into the penalty area is going to get you a result? But apparently the groundsman thinks so. I mean, he was saying so afterwards. He blamed the players again, saying, this is a quote, "It's not acceptable and we have to change it. Even when we were winning, we were still a long, long way from what I want." You're the manager, for fuck's sake. If you want it, practice it and get the players to do it. It was just terrible. And Tottenham were very, very good. They were a Mourinho side doing what a Mourinho side does. Extremely well coached in defence. They had, with Sissoko and Højbjerg holding, they kept the game in front of them. They were very comfortable. Even in the second half, when they allowed Arsenal to come forward, they were comfortable. If you want to lob the ball into Alderweireld's head, well, you go ahead. We don't care. And it was absolutely shocking performance from the Wanderers, and they're 3 points off the relegation positions.
Yeah, as a Tottenham fan, it's always a nervy watch when you give the other team 70% possession in the second half. But halfway through the second half, I began to think, well, actually, you used the word there. Tottenham allowed Arsenal to have the ball. We weren't going chasing it, trying to get it back. We were 2-0 up. We were comfortable. What do you expect us to do? And I think Tottenham said, there you are, come at us, because we are now strong in defence. You've got Kane, who actually cleared the ball out of the penalty area 3 times from one of those errant crosses. And then you've got Alderweireld, who, of course, yes, and then Højbjerg putting his life on the line. Every ball that he went for, I thought Tottenham were magnificent. And sometimes it's not fast attacking pace football that can be interesting. I found that very interesting to watch, and I thought it was good to watch Tottenham put in that solid display, because everything Arsenal put against us, we managed to counter. And I don't think Arsenal really looked like scoring. For all that possession, Aubameyang didn't have a shot on goal. Tottenham blocked every shot that they did have. Lloris made 2 saves in the second half. One of them almost exceptional, where he tipped the ball round the bar. I don't think it was at much pace, but he had 2 shots to deal with all through the second half.
If you want to see the one thing in that match that showed up how good Spurs were, was when Ben Davies came on. Ben Davies came on, sat in the position that he plays, and there was no difference at all. The shape was exactly the same. The Wanderers did no more. 44 crosses against Spurs, 32 of them from open play, and they were praised by the groundsman for doing it. He praised them. He sent them out to do it. In his post-match interview, he presented the 44 crosses as evidence of how good they were. This is a quote: "Pure maths show that we will score that way." This is bloody Charles Reap. We're back to the position of maximum opportunity and the Graham Taylor football. He said, "If we generate that every week, we will win football matches for sure." What? Are we going back 50 years now? Arteta is supposed to be this genius, this savant. And what's he doing? He's channeling Charles Reap. I mean, for Christ's sake. If we generate that every week, we will win football matches for sure. Well, if he hopes that James Tarkowski and Ben Mee, the Burnley centre-backs, are out of practice, given that they faced only 19 crosses from Everton, maybe he's right. Honestly, that's absolutely shocking. He is an empty suit, and the sooner his acolytes and sycophants in the press wake up to it, the better. On what basis did they decide that Arteta was a genius? On what body of work have they got to base that on? We now have 1 year of him in that position, and in 1 year, in the same number of league matches, the Wanderers have got 13 fewer points. 13 fewer. The goals for are ludicrous and ridiculous. Only three teams worse than them. Come on, people, wake up. He is an empty suit.
Mourinho's been in the job for around the same time, more or less. Tottenham are top of the league, something I don't think will stay that way, but it's a hell of a position to be in after a year. I think he's changed Tottenham. A lot of people say Tottenham are very tough to watch. A lot of people moaning that it is Mourinho's tactics have made Tottenham boring and dull to watch. But there is a lovely statistic that I found on the internet. Tottenham have scored more goals in the first 11 matches of this season than they have done in the first 11 matches of any season bar one in the last 55 years. More goals than we have in 55 years in 11 matches. And he hasn't restricted Kane. Everybody said Kane would hate playing under him, he won't get goals. Kane has got 11 assists, by the way, which is the same as Arsenal. And Son has got 10 goals, which is the same as Arsenal. So I don't think Tottenham are a bad watch. Obviously he's a defensive coach, and that was something that was lacking from Tottenham's game plan. That and discipline, because they kept their shape for the full 90 odd minutes, and Tottenham are known for falling apart. Watching the game as a pundit, if you like, as a podcaster and radio host, watching it that way, I watched Tottenham not lose their shape throughout that game, no matter what Arsenal threw at them. And that's a difference.
Yeah, I think so. Levy hired Mourinho, and Mourinho is doing what Mourinho does. As far as Levy's concerned, job done. It might not be the sort of football that many people want to see, and certainly it's not the sort of football I want to see, but you can appreciate it for what it is. And it isn't boring. It's just, okay, this is us, what are you going to do? And if you don't do it very well, we've got these guys up front who are going to destroy you. Now, that is no different to how Mourinho set up Chelsea, with, instead of having Kane up front, they had Drogba up front, and supporting cast including Lampard to go and make the runs over, which is the sort of thing that Son does. They score goals from the same sort of position, from the same sort of reasons why. It's something that has worked in the Premier League, and because there were no teams better than Chelsea, it delivered titles. Will it deliver title this season to Tottenham? I don't think so, because Liverpool are better, and Manchester City are better, and Chelsea, as you say, yeah. But it's an improvement. The defence is very, very good. Højbjerg and Sissoko sitting, or Højbjerg and Ndombele sitting, are disciplined enough to drag that team up. If they get down and start to lose their shape, they'll make damn sure it goes better and goes right again. Alderweireld is a leader at the back as well. They're very, very well organised, and they do what they do extremely well. And it isn't boring to watch. The second half, yeah, they didn't show any great attacking enterprise, but they were 2-0 up, and they didn't need to. They could sit back and say, okay, well, we're comfortable. What have you got? And the team that played like, I don't know, the Johnston's Paint Trophy team didn't have anything. 44 crosses. It's Einstein's definition of madness to keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result. After 25 crosses, wouldn't you think, well, this isn't working at some point? No, but this is what the groundsman wants them to do, so that's what they're doing. I thought it was just absolutely shocking performance, and I'm amazed he still got a job.
Yeah, I was half expecting him to get sacked after that, because, as you say, 44 crosses, it didn't work. They didn't actually try to take on Tottenham by driving through them. Maybe Tottenham would have coped with it, and it wasn't boring to watch Tottenham. As a fan, I enjoyed watching them defend so solidly. It's not the same as watching goals being banged in, but we were 2-0 up. What do you expect us to do against our fiercest rivals when we are fighting for a top four, let's not say the league, top four spot? I thought Tottenham approached that game exactly as any winning team would. They did the right thing. Arsenal did not, and I thought Bellerin had a bad game. Partey had a bad... I think most of them had a bad game. There was very few... There wasn't one player I don't think you could pick out from the Arsenal team who did well. But there were some who were exceptionally bad. But Aubameyang, since he signed a new contract, has looked out of sorts. He actually did play him in the right position, though. He put him in his favoured position, and yet...
Well, he put him in his favoured position and then didn't play anybody that could pass the ball to him. So what was the point? They are paying £350,000 a week to a player who'd be absolutely perfect for feeding the ball to Aubameyang. Aubameyang has always got his goals in Germany and at the start with Arsenal, running into the penalty box in the inside left channel, exactly where Mesut Ozil plays the ball. He creates the space, he makes the plays, puts his striker in, and his striker scores. Why give Aubameyang that huge contract when you're not going to play the one player who can make him look great? It defies belief. It really does. The groundsman's sycophants and acolytes in the press will continue to try and puff him up. There was a piece this morning saying all the things that he needs to get what he wants. He's got what he wants. He's got the Arsenal job. Now do something with it. Act like a coach. Coach them.
Yes, we know it's probably not for footballing reasons, but they've got Ozil sat there without a squad number. I'm not a fan of Mesut Ozil, but boy, did that team miss somebody like him. Because he would have taken that game by the scruff of the neck. He would have done something special. Maybe his cross would have actually found somebody apart from a Tottenham player, or he would have got the ball actually at feet in the box. So why they're not playing Ozil, I don't know. Why Arteta's still in the job, really. Arsenal, who see themselves as a top 6 side, Arsenal fans on yesterday going on about how many more trophies they have than Tottenham, and what's all this from the Tottenham fans about mind the gap. We're first. We're not going to stay first. You're 15th. I think they might finish mid-table at this rate if they keep hold of Arteta and keep doing the same thing over and over again, as you say. I don't think they'll finish much higher than 9th. Arteta, when asked if he was worried about his job, said he's going to continue fighting, and asked how he's going to turn it around, he said, by scoring goals. Very simple, he said. Brilliant. This is why he's in the job. We need to score goals. It doesn't matter what we do in other departments. If we don't score, we need to get the ball in the back of the net urgently. I mean, it's genius from the man.
God, if only I'd thought of that when I was playing. You've got to score more goals than the opposition, have you, to win? Oh, that's what we've been doing wrong for all these years. Maybe you can talk to David Moyes and improve West Ham as well. I don't know. I mean, his comment, pure maths suggests the goals will start flowing. Oh dear, oh dear. I mean, this is pathetic. It is absolutely pathetic. And the Wanderers should sack him, and the sooner they sack him, the better they're going to be. And all those people on the Arsenal TV who were shouting and screaming about Wenger out, etc. Wouldn't you love to have Wenger now? And all that failure that Wenger brought you. Oh, it defies belief. They're shocking, and he is a shocking coach. He's an empty suit. He's not up to it.
Yes, Arsenal fan TV was an absolute joy to watch on Sunday evening. They were, as normal, furious, calling Mourinho all sorts of rather nasty racist names and being very cruel about Harry Kane, but still kind of laying off Arteta a little bit. They obviously were extremely angry at Bellerin, but mainly they were just angry, which is what Arsenal fan TV does and what Arsenal fans do. And since then, as I say, all they've done is talk about Tottenham and not talk about their own problems. And we've talked about it before, but Tottenham fans, not angels, not special, not different but from other fans, but they don't go on about Arsenal as Arsenal do about Tottenham. You lose in the North London derby to Tottenham, your team has got problems, and what are you going to do? Talk about all the trophies you won under Wenger many years ago. But you're 15th in the league, and something's got to change. I hope they keep Arteta. It beggars belief how badly Arsenal are playing, but that doesn't take it away from a very solid Tottenham performance.
Yeah, it was a very good performance by Tottenham. The caveat is look how good the team is that they were playing. I mean, that is not a good team. The challenges for Tottenham are going to come later in the season. They always come after Christmas when injuries start to bite and when the strength of your squad is tested and you start to play the meaningful match against your main opposition, and you have to take at least a point from those. So I personally can't see Tottenham are a borderline top 4 team. They might get into the top 4, but Liverpool, Manchester City and Chelsea are better at the moment.
Tottenham are now playing like a team. Before we were a bunch of individuals in many ways. Harry Kane has always been possibly the best striker in the Premier League, along with Aguero, one of the best in the world even. But now he's doing other things as well. He has as many, as I said, assists as Arsenal combined, and he's scoring more goals under Mourinho than he did under Pochettino. So that idea that he wouldn't has gone. We are solid in defence, got some great midfield players, but Liverpool are collectively a better team. Chelsea have a stronger, more expensive squad. Man City, are still the same Man City they have been. So it's going to be tough, but I think the way we're playing at the moment, it's looking like a top 4 finish. But Tottenham are always just one game away from an absolute calamity. We gave a 3-goal lead away against West Ham. That should never have happened. We've got Liverpool coming up shortly. We said Man City would be the test. We won. Then you've got Arsenal, who are supposed to be top 6. We won. But Liverpool is going to be a completely different game from those two. So we shall see what happens. But so far, so good for Tottenham. I think there might be a trophy in that team. Be it the League Cup or the FA Cup, I think at the end of this season, Tottenham could have something.
I don't think it's important whether they win a trophy or not. The important thing is how well are they playing and where do they finish in the Premier League. Being in the top 4 of the Premier League is the most valuable trophy there is, apart from actually winning it. That's the target. I'm quite sure that's what Mourinho is aiming for, and they're on course to get it. The issue about the difference between the first half of the season and the second half is whatever surprises you pull or however you look different in the first half, everybody's now seen it. So in the second half, when you come for that second match, they're never the same because the opposition have seen what you do and they've practiced how to stop it. And this is the strike against Mourinho for the last 10 years, in fact. Because he doesn't coach his attacking players, and because they don't have routines to go through, and because they don't set traps with the press, which Liverpool, Manchester City and the others do, when the opposition has seen what you do and seen how you play, and they've set themselves up to counter it, what have you got? And that's what the second half of the season is always about. Yeah,
we'll see what we're talking about this time come February. So far so good for Tottenham. I'm happy with the performances. I'm liking watching them. One thing that he said many very funny things, did Mourinho, after the game. The first one, of course, was when he was told, you're top of the league for the rest of the week. He just laughed and said, yeah, it's funny, we'll have a laugh about that, but, it just depends on the next game. That's all we're looking towards. He also said, I want to send my congratulations to Mr. Levy for signing Højbjerg for me. I think he deserves all the praise for that, because Højbjerg was, and is, in every game, pretty sensational. No fuss, no frills, but you certainly know he's there.
Yeah, I think he's the one tangible difference in that squad compared to the players that Pochettino had. And, it does raise the question, well, what if Levy and Joe Lewis had released the money for Pochettino to get a player like that when he wanted it? But they didn't, and they decided to give a fortune to Mourinho to change things around, and Højbjerg is the visible result of that, and he's a very, very good player. He always has been. He's struggled with some terrible injuries over the years which have held him back, and as long as he can stay fit, then he's a massive addition to Tottenham.
Alright, so in conclusion, Arteta out.
I'm amazed that we've got to halfway through Tuesday and he's still in a job, to be honest, because there is no evidence to suggest he was worth the job in the first place. All the evidence since he started has shown that he's not. Why are they still paying him?
Yes, last week we were, I suppose, a little bit smug and found it very funny that Arsenal had, after 10 games, their worst start in 39 years. After 11 games, it's now 45 years. So why is he still in a job? Generally, you'd be sacked after that sort of start to a season. Alright, that's what happened this week. Tottenham currently top of the league and will be until, well, definitely Saturday, because the two teams playing on Friday are Leeds United and West Ham United. So that is our first game, this coming round of games, for our predictions. That's going to be a tough one for you.
Yeah, that is, because the way Leeds play is perfect against that West Ham defence. But I'll go for a 2-2 draw.
Oh, 2-2 draw. Was it one of the popular sort of scores this season? 2-2 draw. You won't have fans in the ground for that stadium. We haven't really mentioned the impact that they had, but Leeds are one of those areas that cannot have fans for whatever bizarre reason. Just quickly, do you think it made a difference to Tottenham and Liverpool there were fans there? Because the Tottenham fans are very vocal. They were probably all mic'd up, but it was good to see at least.
Yeah, I'm not sure it would have made that much of a difference on the pitch. I think it made a bigger difference on TV because of the miking of it. So I'm not convinced. I mean, if all the players turn around and say, oh yeah, it was great, then maybe it was. But equally, maybe they're just saying it to keep the fans on side and say we're thinking of you and all that sort of PR stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty much what Kane and Klopp and Mourinho said. Good to have them back. Mourinho said they made a difference. Alright, so that's Leeds United against West Ham. You're going for 2-2. I think it is a draw. It is a draw, yeah. On Saturday, Wolves, the other Wanderers, against Aston Villa.
I'm going to go 2-1 to Wolves because they've got to start coming good and they've got to start attacking in the first half. I think the writing's on the wall there, and Nuno has got to get them performing in the first half as well as the second. If they could play the first half as well as they play every second half, then they might be in the top 4. But he's got to get them doing it at some point. Yeah, 2-1 to Wolves.
And then we've got Newcastle United against West Bromwich Albion. Newcastle's game last week was postponed, so they've got games in hand already. They'll be backlogged. Thankfully, they're not in too many competitions. Newcastle against West Brom is one of our top tips to go down.
Yeah, I think West Brom will go down, but equally, I think they're going to win this match 2-1.
Interesting, yeah. Then I suppose you could say one of the big games of the weekend, because it's a derby. Manchester United against Manchester City. Now, United are kind of defying the odds and the lack of experience in their manager by being 5th, doing as well as doing. I mean, that's not bad. That's not bad. But Man City, as you say, one of the strongest in the league. Is that a Man City win? I'm going to say that's a draw.
Derbies are usually draws, and I think this one will be as well. Don't forget that Solskjaer, with his inexperience, has got Manchester United to 5th, and they're above Manchester City. No, a draw, I think.
All right, we're going to go for a draw. Then Everton against Chelsea. I don't think there's much in that one for Everton.
Yeah, 2-1 to Chelsea, I think.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Calvert-Lewin to get the one for Everton, as he always does. I'd like to see that to be a draw, or at least an Everton win, but I don't think that's going to happen. Sunday, full fixture list. We got Southampton against Sheffield United. Fill your boots, Southampton.
It should be a comfortable Southampton win, yeah. 3-0. Yeah.
And then we've got a game, again, my Spurs are away at Palace, a game where I think Tottenham, you'll probably see a little bit more attacking from Tottenham in that game, a little bit more open play, and I'm going to go for 2-0 to Tottenham.
I think that'll be a draw, 2-2, because Palace love upsetting higher placed opposition, and they've got a good track record doing it, so I think they'll get a draw out of that.
Actually, yeah, that does happen quite a lot, especially when you've got a top team who've come off the back of 3 clean sheets in a row, 4 out of the last 5 games clean sheets, drew with Chelsea, beat Man City, beat Arsenal, riding on a high, and then come a cropper against somebody like Palace. Palace do that. Then we've got Fulham against Liverpool. Well, men against boys.
Pick a number for Liverpool, really, and Fulham will be 0. Pick any number for Liverpool.
Alright, yeah, that's a Liverpool 3-4-0. Yeah, we think. And then Arsenal are at home, and they will have fans in the stadium, 2,000, which is, if they can find 2,000, against Burnley. Now, that's going to be an opportunity for Arteta to prove his worth. I think they've got to win that 2-0, haven't they, surely?
You put the players down from each team side by side, and Arsenal should win that. If they go into it doing what the groundsman said they're going to do, which is lump balls into the penalty area, get lots of people in there, and they must score, well, Burnley could come away with a win. The issue for Burnley, of course, is scoring goals, and that's the difficult thing for them. I'll go for 1-1 draw.
And then we've got Leicester City against Brighton. You would think Leicester would win that.
Yeah, and I think they will, 2-1.
Alright, those are our predictions. Time for the answer to your trivia question.
Okay, the question was, who was the first black player to both play in the First Division and for England at any level? He played for England in the under-18s, by the way, and his name was John Charles. Well, he played for West Ham as a defender, and he was the first black player to represent England at any level. And at his funeral, Brian Dier, who's the famous centre-forward for West Ham, said, "Football is surely indebted to him, as he undoubtedly paved the way for his black brothers, who now enjoy the fame, riches and adulation which he most certainly helped make possible." Alright,
that's fascinating. Brilliant stuff. Thank you, Geoff. That's all we've got time for. We'll be back next week. In the meantime, I'm Chris Karle.
And I'm Geoff Saunders.
And that was Hitting the Bar, the football podcast.